Conference, and the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns gave us an all-time classic. Phoenix Suns stun the LA Clippers last night, 104-103 on a game winner from Deandre Ayton. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about the NBA playoffs is there's always a different feel to the NBA playoffs. The level of physicality, the attention to detail, the magnitude of the moment. There are a lot of games that we've seen throughout these playoffs and in general where they're technically called playoff games on face value. And then there are playoff games that legitimately feel like NBA playoff games that are heightened by not only the microscope on each individual player, but the physicality, the extra passes, the crispness of the moment, the palpable nature of the arenas and the stadiums that you're playing in. There's a different feel when you watch certain games that truly feel like a playoff basketball game, like a playoff atmosphere. And last night was one of the few basketball games this postseason that truly felt like a playoff game. The level of physicality was unbelievable. You're seeing Devin Booker suffering what looked to be like a broken nose after he collided with Patrick Beverley. Beverley's head cut Devin Booker's nose, almost reminiscent of Steve Nash in Game 1 in 2007 against the Spurs when he broke his nose and he was bleeding profusely and just hemorrhaging blood, and they couldn't even stop the bleeding at all. That's what it kind of felt like when you've got Devin Booker bleeding off his nose completely swollen, playing for the final, what looked to be third and fourth quarters of this game. And then it also possessed the clutchness, coming down the wire, big-time shot making, perhaps legacy-defining plays. Paul George comes down, takes it coast to coast for a layup, gives the Clippers a 1-point lead, 101-100. Devin Booker hanging and knocking down a clutch mid-range, almost Kobe-esque, and there's a reason why he's drawn so many comparisons to Kobe, is not only because of, or especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's not just the fact that he possesses that fearlessness and that ability to rise to the occasion. You think about the spots that Kobe was most successful at on the court was the elbow jumpers, was those mid-ranges, those hanging fadeaways, those hanging pull-up jumpers from inside the arc. That's what Devin Booker has been known for since he's been playing in the NBA. And that was really reminiscent, that shot, of one that Kobe actually ironically hit against the Suns to win Game 4 in the 2008 playoffs, or 2007, 2008 playoffs against the Phoenix Suns. Rather 2006. You can check me on that. I think it's 2006. In Game 4 to take a 3-1 series lead when the Lakers were the 7th seed, Phoenix was the 2 seed. So you have that clutch making. Then Paul George comes back and hits a rhythm jumper, and he's starting to really wear off this rust of playoff P and truly starting to embody this playoff P in a positive way, that moniker. He hits the jumper. They're up by 2. Beverley forces a turnover off the fingertips of Devin Booker, and then Paul George misses 2 free throws. Still have an opportunity if you can clamp down defensively. There's 0.9 seconds left. Jay Crowder has to inbound it. They lob it up for Deandre Ayton with the put-down dunk to win the game. It only took off 0.2 seconds left, so the Clippers had an opportunity to throw a full court heave with 0.7 seconds left. They can't get a shot off. And by the way, on that put-down dunk by Ayton, no one's going to be talking about this. The pick that Devin Booker set to free up Ayton as he was curling off that pick was really what provided him the springboard to jump up and throw it down. So you possess that physicality. The crowd is into it. Both teams, their best players are hitting big-time shots. You've got a game winner. It possessed all the traits. It had all the makeup of a fantastic playoff game. And my biggest takeaway was not only did it solidify what we've already known about Devin Booker and his clutchness, but Deandre Ayton is an absolute monster. This guy is a legitimate number 1 overall pick. There's a reason why he's been drawing comparisons, and I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that he is on pace to be the next Hakeem Olajuwon. Not saying he will have the same accolades or he will achieve the same individually, but you look at the skill sets, the guy can post you up. He can work around the basket. He's got tremendous touch around the rim. He defends at a high level. He can hit the mid-range shot. He's not a liability defensively. He can switch out onto guards on the perimeter. And he's really crafty, and he can shoot a three if you leave him open. He never attempts any threes, but he was the savior for the Suns last night. Dropped a career playoff high 24 points to go along with 14 rebounds. And the Suns needed every single one of those baskets because they could not shoot from the outside. They shot 23% from the three-point line. They were like 6 of 26 from the three, so they couldn't get it going from the outside. He was there for putbacks. They dumped it down to him on the block multiple times, going to work on Ivica Zubac or DeMarcus Cousins or anyone else who was trying to front him. He hit the mid-range shot, and he was the savior for the Suns last night, and it didn't just come down to that put-down dunk. The entire game, he was active, he was present, and he was impactful. And so when I think about Deandre Ayton, who, by the way, is shooting 71.5% from the floor this entire postseason. Now we're going on the third round. Initially, people thought against the Lakers, well, that perhaps was an aberration, dropping 20 and 10. No, he's been averaging 15.5 points, 10.5 rebounds per game this entire postseason. Deandre Ayton has been a game changer for the Phoenix Suns. And then you pair it with Cameron Payne dropping a career high 29 points off the bench, the southpaw replacing Chris Paul, looking like a starter, playing with the utmost freedom and confidence. And he's had some really impressive razzle-dazzle moves around the rim that is not getting enough attention. He and Deandre Ayton really saved the Suns last night. There was no Jay Crowder outside of the assist. Mikal Bridges wasn't that impactful. Cam Johnson hit a couple shots, but really that was it. And then to put the bow tie on it, you flip back to the Clippers. And Paul George, who was fighting off and battling a horrid start to the game, comes out in the fourth quarter and was absolutely balling, scored the final 9 points or scored 9 of the final 11 points in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. He was absolutely just cradling that ball, shooting with confidence, taking defenders on one-on-one. And then it caps it off with 2 missed free throws. And I wanted to come on here and compliment Paul George because he has been criticized. He has received a shrapnel of criticism in his direction throughout the years, and he has started to finally step up. And then those 2 big free throws, it's 103, 102. You have to make at least one of them. Misses both free throws for a guy who has shot this postseason 89% from the free throw line. And that's what leaves the door open. And then the rest is history. And I will say that I think that with this crowd, Phoenix's crowd at Phoenix Suns Arena is one of the great venues to play basketball in. And I think that even without Chris Paul, they could still win this series just given that crowd alone and how much they feed off of that crowd, especially since the Suns have the best record remaining in the NBA playoffs. So they would ostensibly have home court, not only for the rest of this round, but in the NBA playoffs. Now, the one thing that isn't fair is as they were reviewing to see who last touched the ball down the stretch, you essentially, as the refs, awarded Monty Williams and the Phoenix Suns staff a free timeout that they didn't have. And that is a bit concerning and something that's noteworthy because the Suns didn't have any timeouts, and you gave him enough time to draw up a play to free up Deandre Ayton and drop whatever it is they wanted to play. And I didn't think that that was necessarily fair because that's what a timeout is supposed to do. You're supposed to savor those timeouts for those moments if you need it, if you wisely distributed and used those timeouts. And instead, you're awarded a free one because the refs have to review a missed shot, which again, they're entitled to do, but I thought that they shouldn't have been awarded that much time to drop a new play. And so now the Clippers, they're down 0-2 for the third straight series. They've already made history coming back from 2-0 deficits so far. This is without Kawhi. They'll have to do it without Kawhi, but listen, I'm not counting them out. I'm absolutely not counting them out given what we just saw from them the last two playoff series. Again, that was without that was with Kawhi. This is without. But you can't just write off the Clippers just yet. Now, I want to transition